Good afternoon, I'm Herman Green with the Midday News. A special welcome to those of you watching on onespotmedia.com. A reminder as well that you can watch TVJ live by downloading our One Spot Media app from the Google Play Store or the App Store. That's the number 1, followed by the word Spot Media. A 16-year-old boy is dead and a 17-year-old in police custody following a fatal stabbing in Highgate St. Mary Thursday evening. It's reported that sometime after 6 o'clock, 16-year-old Tahir Puran and another boy got into an argument at a bus stop in an area known as Captureland. The argument developed into a fight, during which Tahir was stabbed. He was rushed to hospital but did not survive. Tahir was a student of the St. Mary Technical High School. We'll have more details in prime time news at 7 o'clock. And a 5th Jamaican who was injured in last week's massive fire in the Bronx, New York, has died. 27-year-old Holt Francis, who was originally from Portmore, St. Catherine, passed away after being taken off life support on Thursday. His 37-year-old wife and 2 children, ages 2 and 7, were killed in the fire. A 19-year-old niece also died in the blaze. The youngest victim of the fire was 7-month-old Amora Batiz. Francis and his family lived on the building's 5th floor. Their niece, Shantae Young, was visiting them at the time of the fire. Another relative, Kaden Blake, was also in the building. Blake, a pregnant mother, was the last person to make it down the fire escape of the burning building alive. The fire, which has been described as New York City's deadliest in more than 25 years, was started by a child playing with a stove on the 1st floor. National Security Minister Robert Montague is today expected to receive a detailed report from Police Commissioner George Coelho on Monday night's traffic gridlock on the Palisades Road in Kingston. A preliminary report from the Commissioner on Wednesday was rejected by Mr. Montague, who said it did not meet the standards which the public has come to expect from the Jamaica Constabulary Force. There was a massive pileup of traffic along the Palisades Strip as patrons attending a party blocked the road for several hours, causing delays for persons traveling to and from the Norman Manley International Airport. Mr. Montague said the police commissioner's report failed to outline the conditions of approval and did not clearly speak to a policing plan that was put in place for the event. And on the heels of the New Year's Day traffic nightmare on the Norman Manley Highway leading to the airport, the traffic division of the JCF will be taking no chances with another entertainment function slated for Saturday in the corporate area. Head of the traffic division, Senior Superintendent Calvin Allen, says everything is in place for the Shaggy and Friends benefit concert to be held at Jamaica House, including traffic changes on some roadways.
Traffic traveling northbound, heading to destined for Papine, coming from Arfitry, will be diverted onto Trafalgar Road, and they will proceed to Lady Musgrave Road, which takes them right back out onto Hope Road, right in the vicinity of King's House there, and then they will continue their journey into Papine.
He says vehicles traveling from Ligani to Halfway Tree will use the same detour, but in the opposite direction. Patrons attending the function will, however, be allowed along this stretch to access parking at East King's House, where shuttle buses will take them to the venue. Persons who live within the zone will also be allowed to access. A major concern on New Year's Day was what could have happened in the event of an emergency.
The Andrews Memorial Hospital is right within that corridor, and we have put the necessaries in place in order to treat with any movement of personnel or traffic that needs to access those areas.
He says adequate police personnel will also be deployed in the area to give directions, maintain order, and help in case of an emergency. The measures will be in place from 5 in the afternoon until 10 in the night. More cries of frustration this afternoon from 2 public sector groups upset about the pace of wage negotiations with the government and the treatment being meted out to them. TVJ's O'Shane Masters has the details.
Frustration is growing among the island's public sector nurses and teachers, with both groups voicing concerns about how wage negotiations are being treated by the government. The Nurses Association of Jamaica, NAJ, and the Jamaica Teachers Association, JTA, are complaining about the tone of the negotiations and the effect it is having on their members. The groups have been engaged in intense agitation for the negotiations to proceed and have threatened or engaged in some form of protest action since negotiations began in December last year. NAJ President Carmen Johnson explains why the process has left a bad impression for her association.
Another thing we think is that they are just not serious about negotiating. If you send in your proposal months ahead of time, and then they take another couple months before they call you for clarification. After your clarification meeting, you have to wait another 2 months before you are called to another meeting. And then when you go to that meeting, expecting that they'll come back with some revised offer with something else to tell you, but rather playing with numbers to say 3 and 3 is 6, 4 and 2 is 6, and that's what you're coming back with to the table. There's no other leverage or no other giving. All we're being told is that we must remember that the IMF says and that they are working under constraint and they must keep it between at a 9% GDP ratio.
And the JTA is also reacting with disappointment at the treatment it has been receiving from the government. The association's president, Georgia Wall Richards, explains that there has been some improvement, but not enough.
We would have said in previous discussions that we were not at all pleased with the level of seriousness that was given to the negotiations. But you'd have heard also that we went back to the Ministry of Finance and the ethos changed, and we were able to make some amount of progress, albeit that the most critical issue, that of the percentage increase on basic wage, was not touched at all.
The teachers have promised to take industrial action in the new school term if the government does not improve its offer by Monday. O'Shane Masters, TVJ News.
The Meteorological Service has downgraded the flash flood warning for low-lying and flood-prone areas of Trelawney, St. Anne, St. Mary and Portland. All parishes are now under a flash flood watch. This will remain in effect until 5 o'clock today. The stationary front just east of Jamaica continues to produce unstable weather conditions. It is expected to linger for another 3 days. The forecast is for periods of showers to continue to affect sections of most parishes, particularly northern and eastern parishes. The woman believed to be of unsound mind who died after being swept away by floodwaters in Trelawney has been identified. She's Elizabeth Taylor. The police say it is believed that she was between 58 and 62 years old. Tragedy struck while Miss Taylor was attempting to cross a flooded road in Barnstaple. Her body was found several hours later in the community. The 54 residents at the St. Elizabeth Infirmary have received some well-needed items just in time to help them with the cold front currently affecting the island. The Kiwanis Club of Santa Cruz and Port Antonio made the donations on Thursday in what the matron of the infirmary says is not the first such contribution from the Santa Cruz Kiwanis Club.
They have done it before, twice before, and the last time we had gotten some sheets with the Kiwanis logo on it, which was very nice. Even right now, residents still cherish. Everybody who got their pillowcase and stuff, they keep it and won't give it up. And this project is a good one.
Today we have presented some sheets, towels, and some toiletries to the Kiwanis, to the Santa Cruz Infirmary.
And there's a call this afternoon for more help from corporate companies to deal with disabled children. The call comes from Cordell Howell Hugh, an administrator at the Mustard Seed Community's Blessed Assurance home in Windsor Lodge, St. James. She says the daily duty of taking care of 32 disabled children, 18 females and 14 males, is tedious as there is not enough resources available. She told TVJ News that she has been receiving some level of support from corporate Jamaica. However, the support from within the parish of St. James is lacking.
It's always a challenge to operate, facility like this. And of course, to have 32 disabled children to care for, we have to provide holistic care. And it's a challenge to provide such care.
She further adds that
because of who we are, it's a non-governmental organization, and therefore the appeal is always there for help, support in whatever way possible.
Ms. Howell Hugh was speaking at a recent treat for the disabled children hosted by the Usain Bolt Foundation and Janet Richards. News now overseas. North Korea has accepted South Korea's proposal for official talks in what will be the first high-level contact to take place between the two countries in more than 2 years. The person-to-person talks will be held January 9, one day after North Korean leader Kim Jong-un's birthday, at the Peace House located in the Demilitarized Zone, DMZ. The details from the CNN.
We have been waiting for the North to either accept or not accept the South's suggestion of January 9th, next Tuesday, for peace talks at the DMZ. Now, sometimes there's a bit of back and forth between the two sides, but this time the North has agreed to exactly what the South has suggested, potentially showing that they are ready to have these discussions. Now, what we've heard through this fax, which went from the North to South at 10:16 a.m. local time, was that they wanted to improve inter-Korean relations. This is going to be the discussions they will be having at this meeting next Tuesday, how to improve those relations, and also focusing on the Pyeongchang Winter Olympics, which will be held next month here in South Korea. Now, this all originates from New Year's Day, when the North Korean leader Kim Jong-un said that he was willing to send a delegation to the Winter Olympics here in South Korea, which of course was music to the ears of South Korea. The President Moon Jae-in has consistently said he wanted North Korea to be involved, and certainly I think the thought is, if North Korea is involved in the Pyeongchang Winter Olympics, there may be a less likelihood of them launching a missile or doing something which could spook tourists and athletes who are just 50 miles away.
And we go down to sports, as ousted Executive Director of JADCO, Kerry Brown, is set to return to the Court of Appeal on January 15 as he challenges the Supreme Court's decision to deny his application for a judicial review after being fired by the JADCO board effective October 11 last year. Keon Rayner has the details.
According to a court document obtained by TVJ Sports, Kerry Brown, through his attorney Hugh Wildman, is seeking an application for leave to appeal the decision of Supreme Court Judge Justice Mr. Carl Anderson on December 15. The document signed by Wildman provides 5 grounds on which the appeal should be granted, including that the judge erred in law and that no reasons were given for his decision. Wildman, who had argued that Brown's dismissal was unconstitutional, could not be reached by phone on Wednesday or Thursday for comment. However, we caught up with JADCO's chairman Alexander Williams, who in September indicated that the board had lost confidence in Brown's leadership, for his take on the latest development on Wednesday.
He has since gone to the Court of Appeal and is seeking leave from the Court of Appeal to appeal a decision. That came up for hearing once, and it has been put off until the 15th of January, 2018. In the meantime, there's no injunction. We're not subject to any undertaking to the court to keep in his position, and so we are proceeding on the basis that he's no longer the executive director of the Jamaica Anti-Doping Commission. And so
Williams was asked for an update on the steps being taken to replace Brown.
We plan shortly to extend the period of advertising for persons interested in the post, and we also plan to put very shortly somebody temporarily in place to do the functions of the executive director. We do have a team right now dealing with the technical aspect and the human resource aspects of JADCO and the administrative functions of the organization. But we feel that it is time now to actually put somebody acting in that post.
Williams says the board hopes to have a permanent replacement employed by the end of February. Reporting for TVJ Sports, I'm Keon Rayner.
And that's the Midday News. I'm Herman Green. Join us at 7 for the Primetime News Package. On behalf of the news, sports, and production teams, good afternoon.